This this is the Impressions Exchange podcast.
Impressions Exchange podcast,
where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews.
Hi, I'm Denise Gustafson, Editorial Director for Printing United Alliance, and the guest host for the special Printing Impressions podcast series in celebration of Women's History Month, highlighting women in the printing industry. During this series, I'll have the opportunity to talk with women from all segments of the industry about their experiences and their journey as a woman in the industry. So today, it is my pleasure to welcome Jennifer Pettinger. She's CEO and partner with Sun Print Solutions. So Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
To get us started, can you tell me a little bit about what Sun Print Solution does and what you do as CEO and partner?
Well, Sunprint Solutions is a commercial printer located in Salt Lake City, Utah. We've been around since about 1941. We mainly started in lithographing, so offset printing. In 2014, we did some mergers and acquisitions, and that's when we got into digital printing and direct mail. Our focus is in quite a few different areas. We do a lot of folding carton packaging, the regular commercial printing, magazines, books, all that stuff. And then with the digital side, that's just a whole nother beast with all the stuff that comes along with that and direct mail. So kind of three verticals, really.
Keeps you busy and a little diversified at the same time.
It does. Yeah, we like the diversification, and sometimes they cross over. A lot of direct mail nowadays is getting die cut and doing fun things with that. So that goes into our packaging department. So that's really fun that we're able to do even more creative things with that side. So as CEO, my role is to bring in revenue. I help the sales team. My background was heavy in direct mail marketing. That's where I started before becoming the CEO of Sun. So that's my main passion and focus with my business partner, Sarah Deneau. She's our chief financial officer. So I bring in the money and then she manages it and does what she needs to with it. So it makes a really good partnership.
It definitely does. And of course, my next question was going to be, so how'd you get started in this crazy industry?
Well, the easy answer is I was born into it. So my parents started progressive direct mail advertising in 1976. So when I came along later, that's where I was at. I hung out with them till my other siblings came along, and then we couldn't hang out there quite as much as they grew. But as a teenager, that's where my first job was. That's where I could go make some money to buy the clothes I wanted. I was there for quite a while. I did leave for a short time to go work at another friend's family business. That was just in high school. You want to do something a little bit more fun. And then I eventually came back. Then I never left. We just were kind of that trade shop where you just do direct mail. We did a little bit of digital printing. You're doing business letters and things like that, and they got a match. So that's where I started dabbling in printing. But my dad never wanted to get full-fledged into printing. He wanted to be the master of one, which was direct mail. We were great at it. Wanted to know everything there was about direct mail, all the postal regulations, and we were really good at it. When it was time for him to step away and retire, both my parents, that's when we were acquired by Sun Lithographing, because we knew we needed, in order to stay relevant and grow, we needed to get into the printing aspect. And luckily they were right next door. So we shared a parking lot divided us, and it was just really natural, really great partnership already. So then we became a division of them. And at that same time, literally within 2 days, Sun also acquired Rastar Digital Printing. It was a whirlwind of a year. It was crazy merging all of this into one company, but it fit. It made sense to bring in the digital printing side with us in direct mail and then Sun in offset printing. It was a perfect merge. I did sales after that. Once I was with Sun, went more into the sales role. Obviously heavily focused on direct mail. And then 5 years later is when that owner came to Sarah and I and said it was time for him to bow out. And he thought we were the perfect fit to take it on and keep it going. And so we are the fourth generation employees to purchase the company. It's not family owned. The owner did sell it to his sons, but then after that, it's been employees that bought it.
Very interesting route to come.
Yes.
It's just interesting too, because it started as a family company, got sold, and now it's kind of back in the family in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I bought it in 2019, mid 2019, it was like buying my parents' company back, plus a lot more.
Yes.
So it was nice to regain control, so to speak, put my own vision back onto it. I do still have family there, and there's a few of us there. I do have both of my siblings that are there, and I love working with them. I wouldn't want to do this without them. Obviously, if they wanted to move on, I would help them and wish them well. But it is a really great dynamic to have them there with me and to be able to lean on, especially in the direct mail world where it's complicated. Like postal regulations and things like that, they're hard. And not everyone wants to learn that. It's kind of boring too. So we have a lot of knowledge that is industry specific. So I'm really glad I can still work with them. We have a great relationship. I have a couple other family members there still, but we have 115 employees now. Only a tiny bit of us are family, but the rest of us are all colleagues and we have a great team.
Now, for you, your role, you're a woman as a CEO, you have another woman as a CFO.
Mhm.
That's kind of unique in a certain way within the printing industry, especially within the commercial and the direct mail space. Some other parts of the print industry, we see more women, but for commercial printing, it's primarily a man's world, or it has been.
Yeah, when we go to trade shows, you go to summits and conferences, it's very apparent. There's a lot of times, I am on some committees or groups and things, and it's not uncommon to be the only female in the room. It's not uncommon when you go visit vendors like press manufacturers and machine manufacturers. It's not uncommon that they don't look at us or talk to us first. We do have our COO who is a male, Stephen McTee, and he's amazing. He's incredible. The wealth of knowledge he has brought us. We really kind of look at us as that trio because of his expertise, and mine and Sarah's are so different that we just make such a good team. And so, of course, we bring him along with us. And if we bring our spouses, it's always fun to be able to stand back a little bit and not be that center of, oh, I need to make this sale. I'm going to go direct. And they'll go straight to Stefan or our spouses. And we kind of make a game of it. It's like, it's fine. You guys have your conversations. We're going to hang back. When we're ready to jump in or ask our questions, then we will. And when they do find out who we are, obviously they change the focus, right? They want to talk to us. I'm naturally an introvert, so it doesn't bother me that
Which is
I'm
good.
not the one to be sought out necessarily to be talked to. It doesn't really bother me. When you are in a room full of very strong, opinionated people, as most CEOs and all that are, I wasn't obviously, I was the right fit for what my knowledge was and my vision was that the previous owner was like, I do want you in this role. And with Sarah, she knew the books better than anyone else. It made a great fit. And we do manage the company differently. I feel like we have. I mean, I've only worked for males and we do manage it differently. And I like how we manage it. And I like that we care a lot about our culture. And that means a lot to us. And so we like that it's different. And I want it to become the norm, though. I do. We do gravitate when we do see other women in the industry. We definitely do gravitate towards them and talk to them and get their ideas and how they manage or how they feel about this industry and where they see the vision going. So we do gravitate towards those other women that we see at those shows. Either way, it still works for us and how we manage or how we view the industry. It's still fun to kind of be that kind of under the radar, I guess.
Mhm. One thing that you mentioned that you're on a lot of committees within the printing industry, and sometimes you find yourself as the only woman in the room.
Hmm.
And in some ways, and now you say you're also an introvert. So sometimes
Hmm.
it could almost seem like there's two strikes against you. You're a woman,
Yep.
and you might be a little quieter just because of your personality. How do you empower yourself to be heard in those situations?
I try to really form my thoughts as much as I can before speaking. I feel like if I have my thought formed, I can say it gets heard, and I can say what it is I want to get across. I don't try to just interject as much when if they are having some discussions or some heated debates about a topic. I kind of just let them duke it out, I guess, if you want to say it that
Mhm.
way. And then I'll just wait till the right time. And so hopefully by then I have gathered some really good points of view and I've thought about it. Because for me, off the cuff, I'm probably not as good at that. I want to thoroughly think about maybe each side or a lot more variables in it all before I form that opinion. That's what I try to do.
And you also mentioned that you would tend to gravitate to other women CEOs or other women in C-suites or leadership roles.
Mhm.
How else do you contribute to creating a more inclusive environment, making it easier for women to see printing as a viable career, as a viable option for them?
I see women, they have so much creativity, I feel. And because a lot of times we are juggling so many roles in our life, and that's not to say that men don't, but I think women naturally, being that caretaker or being a lot of times that fixer, we want to fix things naturally. And because we have an innate want and need to make sure that people feel safe or heard or things like that, I think that's how we try to change our culture is to power women because I know that we just get stuff done, right? Like we can give them the flexibility that they need to do what they need to do and they will get it done. That's really what we try to do.
And it's true. We're multitaskers. We get stuff done.
Yeah,
We kind of have to. But yeah, you go back to like we have that mothering instinct.
right.
So you want to take care of people. And
Mm.
like you said, it's hard to balance personal and work. When do you focus on either? I know with some women, there's also a measure of guilt. If they're raising kids and now they're in the business and they're focused
Mhm.
there, there's a guilt they're not involved as much in certain things. Or if now they're doing stuff with their kids, they're not involved as much with the business. How do you reconcile some of that?
I would almost say it's impossible. I am a mother and she's a teenager now. And so her whole life, I have had a professional career, professional job, and she has seen me go from sales, which offered a lot of flexibility, which was awesome. And that afforded me to be able to do the fun things in the classroom with her and all those great things that you do in elementary. And then as she's gotten older, then I shifted into a CEO role where there's not as much flexibility, still some flexibility, obviously, but a little less. That has been so hard. Mom guilt is just something that you can't outrun. You can't outwork. You just can't. And so I just try to make up for it as much as I can in being present wherever it is that I am so that I can give my time to where my focus needs to be and then I can let that go and move on to the next thing. So it's also giving me that understanding. So the other women, any parent or just anyone, male or female in our organization, when they come to us because they have a family crisis, or if just anything, we're just very, very like, please go take care of this. If you can take care of your things in your personal life, we know you're going to take care of us with your time and talent. It's giving me more of that understanding of what that is and how important that is. And then we also introduced a mental health offering to our employees so that they have somewhere to go to if they have any kind of crisis, that the company will cover that. We don't need to know about it. We don't know who goes and who uses these services. And we just make sure that they have those resources because it's just so important. It pays our company dividends knowing those employees are taken care of and that when they're with us, they'll work really hard because it helps them in their personal life as well.
Definitely. One thing that I always found was interesting, one woman was talking about in work-life balance that the smartphone has become a savior in some ways because you're connected, but at the same time, you're always connected. So there's
Yep.
good and bad to having that. They might be sitting at a baseball game or whatever, but they're still working in some spots. So it's technology has certainly helped as well in this arena to allow you to be in contact with both family and the business, even if you're not with either of them. But at the same time, too, you're still pulling and dividing your attention.
Absolutely. It has. But even as a kid, I remember my mom, it was a small family business. You wear a lot of hats. And I remember she would come home, she would do dinner, we would do whatever we needed to. And after we went to bed, she went back to work at the kitchen table. She brought her work home with her. And that was way before we had all this technology. I mean, she was handwriting the job sheets and doing, whatever that was back then that was not done by computers, she still did it. So we maybe feel like we do that more now with our smart technology. For me, it was always that way, even if it was an analog, so to speak. So I don't know any different,
Mhm.
that you're just working when you can to get things done. And I definitely have tried in the last few years to turn that off even more and to be more present, even in the evening after the kids are in bed. That's my time I need to spend with my husband. And that's just as important. I have learned more and more about time management, but making sure that it's time well spent and that I make sure I give the attention I need to in all those aspects. And sometimes that does mean that a customer might need to wait a little bit longer for something, or I just will get to it in the morning. And so I just have to be able to be okay with not giving that instant answer. And all of us need to do that. And I see that more and more on emails when they say my working hours might not be the same as your working hours. Please respond when it makes sense. And I love that because we do need to respect our each other's time, that our working hours are probably pretty different, more than we think. And the flexibility is really important.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you mentioned your mom. Is she one of the people that was really one of your role models as you're stepping into these leadership roles?
Definitely. My parents were very different people. My dad was very, I mean, he was that kind of that harder CEO, owner, perfection, all that kind of stuff at the company. My mom definitely played a more nurturing role, but she was everything. She was operations, she was all of it. So watching her, how she would deal with employees and how she would deal with customers, that definitely formed an opinion on what I wanted to do, how to lead essentially. And I honestly, I did not expect to be a CEO at 39 at the time. It was mid 2019. And so we had planned on it, but it'd be much later. I thought I'd be more well into my 40s, maybe about right now, honestly. So it did happen a little sooner than I'd planned. And I was able to learn a lot from working for my dad and how he managed, and then working for this other owner for 5 years. They were also very drastically different people. And so I really watched that closely. What was it that I liked about each one, and what was it that I didn't like about each one? And then I tried to be middle of the road, so to speak, or that's really even more how I felt like I needed to form my own leadership style. I would say it's definitely between the three of those people that were the most influential in my leadership style.
And for you, you got to pick the best qualities that worked for you and your own personality and see how they work. There's probably some stuff they said, I could never do that. But there's other things that, yes, I want to do something exactly like that to really
Yes,
help to round out what you are doing now.
absolutely. Yeah. And it's also been a lot of learning. When employees form an opinion on how a leader is, they only have one side of that story. They only know the side they see. And that becomes a lot harder when there's another side and they don't understand that side, they don't see that side. And so when you find out that maybe someone just totally disagreed with your decision and you're like, why? Like, how could you, like, it makes so much sense that it's like they don't have the whole picture. And so I've definitely had to learn there's not a lot I can do about that. I have to do what's best for the company as a whole to make sure that we're viable, that we're going to keep moving forward, that we're relevant. I can't always tell everyone all sides of the story and make them understand. And so I'm naturally probably what you'd say a people pleaser. And so when you get in these roles, you have to become a lot more nuanced or thicker skinned to say, I'm sorry you disagree with this. This is just what we have to do. That is hard. That definitely changes sometimes how you make a decision as well.
The employees are not going to have all of the details as to what's going on behind the scenes, but they need to trust that you know what's best for the long-term success of the business, because honestly, that's what's going to benefit them in the long run, because they'll continue to have a job. They'll continue to be paid. But it's sometimes hard when you're in the moment and you're thinking about a specific thing, whether it's an equipment purchase or something else that's going on within the shop. We really need this, but you said, no, it's not the time, or no, we can't do that now.
Hmm.
It'd be great to have a new piece of equipment, but if it's not the right time, if it's not going to be the right market, if you're going to be leading the business into a different direction,
Hmm.
there's other things that are going on in the background that they just don't understand at that point.
Yeah, and that is hard. And the thing I probably say this more than I should at work, I'm always saying, my crystal ball is just really fuzzy. I cannot see the future. And as CEOs, like that's your job. You're supposed to look into that future and figure out the best way to navigate it. And that crystal ball is always so foggy. I sometimes have no idea where we're headed economically in our economy. And I was so surprised after we bought the company. We had been there for 7 months, doing everything we could to work so hard to kind of make it ours, right? To make that culture how we wanted it. And then you get hit with a pandemic and you're just like, I did not see this coming. And this is insane. What are we going to do? So, to weather that storm. And then all of a sudden, later that year, you run into a supply chain crisis. And for that whole next year, navigate just having paper to feed your presses. What an incredible challenge that was. And it was just kind of funny for us. We just kind of sat back and we're like, hey, what else? What else do you want to throw at us? Because let's just check all these boxes off so that
Just
we
get them
can
done
just,
now.
yeah, let's just get through this. And so it was definitely really crazy to navigate all that and to be yeah, I mean, luckily I have that, a business partner and I wasn't doing this necessarily on my own. And we weathered that storm and it was a great experience, but it was really hard because it was like, what else is going to come at us that I don't foresee?
Mhm.
Something else like that. So that's a crazy, weird burden to have to try to navigate the future that we have no idea.
Yeah. How important is it for you to have people in a network to help bounce ideas off of? How important is like that networking part of your profession?
A lot of times I'm not really that person that's bouncing ideas. I like to listen to other people's ideas, like I said, because I'm that introvert and I like to just consume information and then to form opinions. For me, it's important to surround myself with people within the industry who I feel like have a clearer crystal ball on what they have seen in a much longer tenure than I have. And so that's where I really gain the most insight is just to be surrounded with these people and to hear their ideas because I am a firm believer you shouldn't reinvent the wheel. Someone else has already come across this problem, someone else has weathered a storm. I do like to share when people ask me to share with the little insight I feel like I have, but I am always so appreciative when other people are willing to share because that's really truly where I gain the most knowledge from. And so to be part of committees or groups, I sometimes feel maybe a little guilty, or like I have imposter syndrome, like I probably shouldn't be there because I'm doing a lot more listening. It's just so important for me to be part of those because of how much I walk away with. And so I'm just so appreciative to be part of those. And I hope that it helps me so in the future, as I gain more time under my belt, that I will be able to contribute even more. They are super important to me. It's just a matter of truly, I mean, I've only been a CEO for 4.5 years. So sometimes I'm like, well, how much do I really have to say? How much knowledge do I really have to share? Even though truly I've been in the industry for 25 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have to remind myself, I probably do have a lot I could share. I just need to probably just be more comfortable in doing that.
And you do have a lot to share. You have the history, you have the experience in various roles too. So you do have a certain amount of perspective. Part of that is also you're new in this role or relatively new, and it's building that confidence. I think that's something that everybody struggles with, that imposter syndrome, building a
Hmm.
confidence that, yes, you do have a voice. And that's something a lot of women are working with and struggling with.
Hmm. I definitely don't think it's necessarily just our gender that struggles with that, but we're probably more open about it.
It's
we
a very good
might we,
possibility.
we might talk about it a little bit more. I feel like I still have so much to learn and so much to get better at, that I just welcome those people who are willing to share. Like that is just gold for me.
Hmm. Definitely. There's gems that you can find everywhere, and I'm sure people find a lot of gems from you as well when you do share.
Yeah,
Because, like I
I
said,
hope
you
so.
do have a range of knowledge that you can share as well. So, kind of in wrapping up, this is probably my favorite question. I say this literally in every interview that I've been doing for this series. Knowing what you know now, so looking back on your varied history within the printing industry, what advice would you give to yourself if you were just starting out now?
I would have to say the advice I would give myself is probably how I would have changed my education, how I would have changed college, or maybe the classes I took, things like that. I would have wanted to studied people more. I would have really liked to have studied just the humanism in all of us and studied more about how to network and how to be really good at that. And because truly, that's what this industry is. It's networking, it's who you know, it's who you'll meet, and it's how you talk to people. So I definitely would have focused a lot more on that, especially ending up being a leader of people. That is where I've put a lot of time and energy, is learning more and more about just us as humans and how we think and operate and how different we are. It's so interesting to me when we do performance reviews with employees, and a lot of times they end up like, when you tell them you do such a great job, and they're just like, really? I had no idea. And you realize you're like, oh my gosh, like I need to be better at telling them how
Hmm.
amazing they are, because sometimes that just fills their cup so much more than a raise. They might be fine. I mean, I know we all want to make more money. That's just a given. But at the end of the day, I just need to be a lot better about telling people how awesome they are and what a great job they do. And just learning more about people's personalities. And because sometimes some people don't want that. Because I'm that introvert, a lot of times those words don't mean as much to me. And so I forget that they mean so much to other people. And I would have liked to have studied that a lot more and practiced it a lot more so I could be better at it. I know that because I'm still young in this journey, I have still so much to learn, and I want to keep getting better at that. And
Hmm.
so I would have changed. That's probably what I would have, the advice I would have given is how to be more of a people person and to be able to better speak and really read them more in depth so that I can help them, because I do feel like helping people in their own careers, that comes back to you. That really even boosts yours even more. And so I like enabling people to be better at what they do.
Hmm. Definitely. And I also think about when you were talking is people do business with people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily companies or a business. So knowing how to read body language, facial cues, to make sure that people are getting what they need, whether it's in a sales role or whether it's in a mentorship role, by helping them to perform better, to continue in their career. It's all people.
Exactly. Exactly. That's really where a lot of times we say, we want to protect all of our contacts, right? As a salesperson, you got to protect that client and not let anybody know about it. And I'm like, yeah, but if they really like doing business with you, they're going to do everything they can to keep doing business with you. As long as you can give them a fair price, but you're giving them all that extra time and attention and your expertise, it's going to be really hard for someone else to come in and take that client away from you. And so we definitely try to have more and more of those conversations with our sales team, that it's like, it's you. Why do they want to work with you? Because you're working with people, even though we're becoming more of that Amazon type world where people just want to get on a storefront and do their thing. I think at the end of the day, especially with print, and because we're a custom print shop, you really don't have to fit into a certain box. That's going to be really hard to put into a storefront. And to put that much creativity in there is pretty tough sometimes. So they're going to have to work with a person. And we want to make sure that we have the people there to help those that want to work with a person. Because at the end of the day, you just get such better customer service and a better product, and you can get more creativity when you work with a person rather than going through an online storefront.
Yeah, and honestly, the better relationships, the stronger relationships are going to be the ones that you really are a partner. No matter what, you're going to have those people that come in, I need business cards. Here it
Right.
is. They're not looking for creativity. They're just looking for a price and a product. That online storefront does help with that. But then the question is, how else does this all roll through with the partnerships? Jennifer, it was really a pleasure to talk with you today. So thank you again so much for your time. I really appreciate you sharing and all the gems that you did share with me.
Oh, I appreciate your time, and thanks for the great questions and letting me share a little bit about me and son. So it's been a great time well spent.